Hi, welcome back to another episode of Swiping Left, where we talk about crazy dating stories. I'm Suzanne Linfante, and my guest today is comedian Richard Dweck. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And Richard has a podcast of his own. What the heck with Richard Dweck, right?
Yeah, I have my podcast. That's on Spotify and anywhere you can get podcasts. I talk to mostly comedians, but I'm having poets on soon, and I have musicians sometimes. I just ask people about like their start in whatever endeavor they do creatively.
All
Yeah,
right, cool. So what the heck with dating? Like, are you having a fun time out there dating? Have you tried any dating apps?
I have tried dating apps. It's such a strange, it's so hard, to mingle with people, and I don't consider myself an interesting person. Like the only
Oh,
thing interesting about me is that I do comedy. Like, and I'm a very inquisitive person. Like, I like to learn what other people like. So that's sort of my thing. Is like if I meet someone on a dating app, it's like I want to ask them more about themselves because I just find myself so cripplingly boring of
okay,
just
well, first of all, I think
right.
you're just being a little hard on yourself there. We like Richard
No
Dweck,
problem.
so you are an
Yeah,
interesting person, and here you are. So, but I
yeah,
understand wanting to find out more about the other person. Has that because I think that's actually pretty good, especially from a guy's perspective. As someone who's been trying to communicate with men, I find it very hard to hold a conversation with them because they just don't
yeah.
have it. They got nothing. They don't ask any questions at all, and they got you beat in boring by a million. So I think
Yeah.
it's cool that you ask people questions.
I think, with your experience, I hear from women all the time is like, guys, when they introduce themselves, they'll just say hey or they'll just say hi. And to
Yeah.
me, I really try not to do that. I really try and like, I'll find a random thing that they're into and just bring that up and be like, okay, it mentions that they're into this. And then, you know, that's my
Yeah.
that's my main thing. Like that I do. I don't know if it's a hack. It's like a thing that I do. If I see someone likes coffee, I like coffee. So I immediately ask them like where they like to get coffee. And then that leads to gives me a chance to ask them out to go get coffee together, and you can
Right.
start a conversation naturally instead of being like, oh, just say hello and then have short conversation, because I just hate small talk in general.
Yeah.
I,
I'm not big on that either.
I like talking about big things. I like talking about what people believe and what people like, and I'm so interested in what other people do because I don't really do a whole lot. So it's like,
Hmm.
if I can just learn as much. And also, like, I think people like it when someone at least has an interest
Yeah.
in what they're interested in. I talked to with one person who was really into like Dungeons and Dragons, and I wanted to learn about that. And I was like, I'd be cool with learning any type of card game or board game that people liked. You know, that's sort of the good thing about my personality, I think, is that I'm so inquisitive in a good way of like, I just want to know what people are into and what they like so that
Yeah.
not that I can fake it and be like, oh, I like that too, but just like be like, I want to learn about that because, and the main thing is just putting yourself out there is the biggest sort of risk that I think we all deal with is,
But I think
you
it's
know,
wonderful that you have a genuine interest in learning new things like that. I think that's a
yeah,
wonderful quality. So, I mean, don't don't lose that. That's
yeah.
fantastic. But have you met anyone off the dating apps?
Off dating apps, like nowadays, it's kind of been interesting. Like I've kind of been more susceptible, I guess, to like, I always had crushes. Like that was the main thing with me. I was very much always romantic, still am.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's a hard thing because like I never really learned how to, like, it's so funny. I spent most of my childhood being mostly friends with girls, and especially in like high school, I had a group of friends that were girls, and they were not like very popular girls. They were kind of, and not like ugly, but they weren't popular, and like it was just like it was just something that I never learned how to talk to girls, and it's just something that I'm trying to do now. Like my confidence has gotten way better in the past year. I think I don't really have like a fear anymore of just being myself. Like I could be more myself with people. So I have a few women that like I'm interested in, but it's always a tough gamble to figure out like, do they like me back? How much are you supposed to like really put into the relationship to make sure that it stays? the same, because my big thing is I just don't want to ruin anything. Like that's my main, problem is like I don't want to be like someone just use you as a friend. You don't want to misread a context or, look at a
Yep.
conversation. And to me, my hardest thing was, I guess, when I was a teenager, I joined this friend group of girls mainly because I liked this one girl. And for like 3-4 years, I was just like obsessed with her. And, I sort of had that, like that first crush and that first relationship. And it was such like a unique experience, I guess, that everyone has with their first relationship. The one thing that was like really bad that happened is I liked her before she went through puberty. And then when she went through puberty, she got big breasts, which everyone thought that I liked her because of that. And it was like, no, I liked her before that. So that was always a tough thing. And her friends never really liked me because I didn't get into their friend group naturally. I just started hanging around them to talk to her and be around her.
Okay.
And they never hung out with like a guy before in their friend group. So it was a thing they had to learn. And like, I'm not like a very masculine person anyway, so I kind of fit in like soon, but it was just the thing that was tough was like, oh, you're only here because you like her. And it's like, it's a whole thing. And it just was a thing of like when we had our little, like for like a year, like I liked her and like I didn't know if she liked me back. And then, or maybe it was like 2 years. And then I found out that she did. And then we had like a short period, like I guess it was only like 2 weeks that really it lasted because her friends just didn't really like me that much. They didn't really approve of the relationship.
Oh, that's tough, especially in high school. That's really tough. Yeah.
And, we're very young. Like I was like 14 or 15. It's just very young to be like, and we always were just going back and forth. It was like, there was never an issue with me of like, oh, we don't like each other anymore. It was just like her friends just never, like, even though they grown to like me, I guess, as a friend, they just never really got used to that dynamic. And we had a couple moments where like, as the school dance, we would dance together, like the slow songs and stuff. And I forget the song that we had, this Cascada song that's very popular was our song. An interesting story that I have is, so we're at this school dance and it's after the whole period where we tried dating and it didn't really work out. Just her friends not really like jiving with the situation.
Right.
And, and so we're still kind of over it. I still like her. Like I still liked her a lot. And so I went to the school dance again. And like I'm figuring, I'm like, okay, we'll slow dance or something. Like again, we'll just have our song play and, we'll be able to have this like fun moment. But it was very awkward. The thing that happened was she was dancing and her boobs were undulating a lot. And she told her friends, like the group, like to let her know like when it was happening. And I didn't know that she was only talking to really the girls. I thought she was talking to the entire group of us, me and them. So I let her know that it was happening like very sensitively, but she got very upset with that. And then the next day she comes into my homeroom and breaks up with me in front of everybody.
Oh,
And
that's
it was
harsh.
just a really like embarrassing thing. And that was sort of, I don't know, like halted a lot of stuff for me to be like outwardly like romantic at all with anyone.
Yeah.
That really jolted me a whole lot. And then my second relationship was a girl that I met. Her name is also Mary, and she's from Chicago. I met her on this is like 2010. I met her in a chat room, and it was a long distance relationship for like 10 months. And that was hard because it was before like I was diagnosed with depression and she had depression or was diagnosed with it. So she had a lot of, just quirks and stuff and, that, and it's tough to deal with that when you're a teenager of you have this long distance relationship. And like back then I was so determined of like getting my license and now I don't drive, but it's like, that was the only like impetus towards it was like, I'm going to, get my driver's license to go visit her in Chicago and just like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
But, it just didn't work out after,
So did you ever meet her in person?
No, never got to, but
Uh,
like we talked on the phone a whole bunch, and it was just like it was just tough because you want sort of that like that furtherness with the relationship, especially at that age.
yeah, yeah.
And I haven't really had anything since. Uh I had a couple dates from Tinder, I guess is where most of the other dates that I had. So I had this date a couple years ago. I guess it was like probably 2016. It was like around after the election, and this girl that I met, I went to some place, like it was when I first started using Uber, and I went to some random place in New Jersey that was like, I don't know, like 40 minutes away from me, and it had this comic book shop where she went to like after her work. I don't remember what she did for work, but she would come to this comic book shop, and I guess it was like her place that she would go to. And I waited 45 minutes for her to come, and then we went to TGI Fridays,
Okay. Was she
and
late? Were you waiting
yeah,
45 minutes because she was late?
like she was just at work, so like I had to wait for her.
Oh,
And
okay.
I sort of
Gotcha.
like, I guess I showed up too early, so I was just
Okay.
like, I'm in this comic book store, and I'm just like, okay. And before I left, like she had a good like rapport, it seemed, with the comic book guy that worked there, and
Hmm.
like he even said something to her, like he kind of like warned me. I was like, she's pretty tough, like to please or whatever. So I was just like, okay. So when we left, he's like, go easy on him. She said. We went out to eat, and it was fun. Like we got along, but the thing that was like just very different is talking was very hard because she was very open about being not really a deep person, I guess. Like I was pretty political at the time, and it was a very
Ah,
political time, but she
yeah.
wasn't a political person, and that was actually a relief to me. It's like, okay, but like to me, I sort of like deeper conversations, and the only thing that was fun was just like we shared dessert together and just had like a nice time, and I had a good time afterwards, and then she hugged me and I left, and I had bought a comic book and stuff while I was at the place. But it was just like it was just like, okay, that's the first thing, and nothing ever came about it again.
So she didn't give you a hard time though, right? She
So
went easy on you.
like, it wasn't really mean or anything. It was just like there wasn't that much of a deeper connection, I guess.
Right, right. Yeah.
And it just was like I didn't know like basically how to do anything. So I just showed up and tried to be as, friendly and as much as I could.
Well,
And
that sounds like a
like,
good approach. I mean, you're being you. That's good.
yeah. So I've had like a really hard time with it in recent years. I haven't had really any dates since I think like 3 years ago. I matched with someone, and then we just never could figure out an actual time because they were
Oh.
working that like. And then the one time we had like a date set up at this coffee place. We're gonna get coffee together, I guess, at this Starbucks or whatever. And they got called into work, and I guess right before,
Oh,
and they didn't message me correctly, like right away, like
yeah,
they
yeah.
so I was just there for like like
Oh,
4 and then just being like, I know I'm testing the person, like not as much, not being annoying, but like
hmm.
like, and that was just the thing. So we never really got to meet, and that sort of fizzled out. So it's always so tough with dating apps too. Is like I don't know if you spend any money on anything because that's like basically what you have to do, and like I never want to do that. So like if you want to like more swipes, like especially for Tinder, it's like and you want to see stuff, you have to pay for it. So like I'll pay
Uh,
weekly for it just to see more matches, but it's never like I meet anyone.
yeah,
And
that's the thing. I paid for Match.com for years, and like I can't,
like
like it blows my mind to think how much money I spent, and I never got like I really never met anyone,
yeah, so
that would work out of there.
so now in just recent years, it's just me learning, especially this year, like just taking the chance to talk to people in person. And it's funny, like doing comedy, like I think a lot of guys can, I guess, after a good set, like they can sort of impress women with their comedy. I've never had that where like someone saw my comedy and like wanted to go on a date with me or anything, or was like, interested. But just in the past like year, I've just been trying to be more confident and actually talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the girls, I got her number, and then I found out like she doesn't text that much, and I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't really work out for me. So it's like, I try not to be too judgy. And like she was really apologetic about it, but I was just like, no, it's fun. And
what are you looking for?
To me, I just want that person that like, we instantly get along, they instantly like me, and just like, I think the hard thing is me having to fix certain habits about myself and, things that I didn't like about myself, and learn to like, it's kind of, I guess it's like a thing that we all have to learn, is you kind of have to learn to like yourself and be okay with yourself before you can really be with other people.
Yep,
And
I agree with that.
Like my main thing that I'm always fearful of is just how people will deal with just parts of my personality and like the mental illness stuff that I deal with. Just like, I've never had to deal with that really in like recent years with people. I haven't really gotten that close. But that's the thing, like, how do you deal with like, I get like heady about like, what's it going to happen when you have your first argument, or, it's like, all that little stuff I get in my head about.
Yeah, I think we all do, or a lot of people do. You know what I mean? I can't speak for everyone, but like it is scary, like to have an argument with someone and then you don't know what, like, is that it? Will that one argument just send them away, or?
Right. And it's like, it's like, okay. So to me, I'm always like fearful of that. And it's just like, you also have to be very like open. Like you have to say what you mean and like be open about your feelings. And to me, I'm very passive aggressive, so it's tough for me to. But
it's nice you recognize that about yourself.
very, very passive aggressive. So I don't, and it's like, I think it's just a weird, that's just the thing that I have to deal with. So if I can just say what I'm feeling, and that's what I do now, like more of just being more comfortable with talking to women and being like in person. And being like, okay, I can be myself and not be, afraid of whatever people's reactions are going to be.
Yeah. The better you feel about or more comfortable you are, just like, this is me,
Right.
What I mean? I think we're all working towards that. Don't get me wrong.
The one thing that I would guess what I look for too is someone who would find my sense of humor funny.
Right.
And like, they would be funny too. Like, that's the main thing, because a lot of people are not performers, like, so that's a tough thing to sort of explain, like, especially.
I think you just want to be on the same wavelength though, right? Like it doesn't matter if they perform or not, you just want to understand each other and make each other laugh, really.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't know, that's just my take on it. I don't know if that's what you meant, but but yeah. Okay. Well, this has been fun talking with Richard Dweck today on Swiping Left. Thank you, Richard, for being my guest. Very much enjoyed talking to you, and you can catch him again. What are your socials?
I think rdweck93 is my Instagram. If you just put Richard Dweck in comedy on YouTube, you can find all my stand-up.
And your podcast is What the Heck with Richard Dweck.
Yeah.
Fun podcast. Tune into that if you can. You can find him on Spotify. Thank you so much for being here, Richard Dweck. And thank you for watching Swiping Left. We'll catch you next time.